Hello. Hello, beautiful family. We're here. We're doing another on the fly little one that I wanted to talk on a proverb that I've come across from Proverbs. Is that where the word proverb comes from? Let's just quickly to start this, because a lot of this what I want to talk about is about definitions. Definitions and what the implication of what things mean. Let's start with a definition. Define. And if you don't do this all the time, I don't know what the hell you're doing. If you don't know what something means, go define and then put the word in. I wanted to look up define proverb. What does a proverb actually mean? Before I even look it up. Proverb, it's got two parts, pro and verb. Verb means to do something, doesn't it? That's what the verbs are. They're like doing words. Let's just check that. Let's actually check that, because I'm not 100% fine. Verb. And action. Okay, cool. So, proverb. Positive action? Shit. Alright. Whoa, that's already blowing my mind. So, let's just conceive that possibly proverb may mean words that provide positive action. And now let's actually see what it means without us just etymologically breaking it down ourselves. Fuck me, I can't speak. Etymology is words, I'm pretty sure. The study of the origin of words and the way they are combined, yes. So a proverb, defined by the dictionary, is a short, pithy saying. Jesus Christ, how many times are we going to have to define words in the first couple of minutes? Define pithy. Containing much pith. What? Terse. Of language. Terse and vigorously express. Okay, vigorously expressive. So I guess getting a lot into a short amount, because proverbs are generally small statements. Okay, we're making sense of things. So proverb is a short, concise saying stating a general truth or piece of advice. So advice or general truth, I guess, would aid us in positive action, which seems to be the etymological roots of the word proverb. Proverb. Proaction. Proactive. Damn. Being proactive is putting into use proverbs or general truths and pieces of advice. So now, how do we trust advice? Well, this moves on very good to my next point. Advice. How do we trust advice? We can't just trust random people's advice if we don't know them, can we? Because people are fucked up. Some people have good advice, some people don't have good advice. We need a way of figuring out the good advice. The ways to have meaning in the world and to make that positive. How do we do that? How do we trust which advice? I think that is a large part of what religion does. Whether that be deistic religions with gods and stuff like that, or whether it be religions like Buddhism, where they don't so much state a god and people sometimes say, oh no, Buddhism's not a religion. I don't really care about the difference between using the word religion right now. All of these kind of structures of meaning that provide positive action, general truths, these are what I'm going to refer to as religion from this point on in this video, okay? Any structure of meaning like that, whether it has God, even Scientology, I don't know what the fuck Scientology is, and I'm pretty sure it's bad, but it's a structure of meaning. It's probably a negative structure of meaning, but it provides meaning. And that meaning comes through, where did I start this? Advice. We need advice as to how we live in the world, because the world is a thick jungle that we need to pass through, and without tools, which is symbolically the advice here, we can't cut through the jungle. So, we need advice on how to live. We need to model ourselves to something. How do we trust what to model? I think what's happened with religions over the years is that it was a compiling of generally what is good advice, or not necessarily good advice, but narratives that easily translated a message that we could use to gain insight into the world and therefore traverse the planes of existence. I really think that's what a big part of whatever religion is we need advice we can trust. The most important the most important advice, I guess, was recognized as so important that we could never lose it. And so we started to, I think, encode this. We encoded it into our language. We encoded it into our texts. And we encoded it into these kind of divine narratives to the point that we could no longer forget them because they are so valuable to who we are and what we've created of ourselves over the past 10 plus thousand years, tens of thousands of years probably. A lot of these religions apparently date back to stories which can be traced back, I don't know, 100, 200,000 years possibly? Or is that when the humans started? See, I'm not 100% certain on that, so do your own research, motherfucker. I'm just here to prod your brain a little bit, get you thinking. I am not a PhD doctorate. But advice. So what is advice? And I wanted to also jump back to what we started the video with, definitions. So I guess we already know what advice is. Advice is essentially proverbs. It's saying a piece of short piece of text that gives us the means of accessing a positive way of action through the world. We need to know how to move through the world positively and not just move through it suffering like we're constantly on fire. We need the wisdom to know that we're on fire in order to put ourselves out with some water. That was a bit of a loose metaphor, but so what I'm kind of realizing is that a lot of advice, which I kind of used in the metaphor of chopping through the forest earlier, if we can imagine the phenomena of life as a forest, and our traversing through that, we need some kind of weapon like a machete. And that machete in this metaphor of life and all phenomena is essentially structures of meaning within ourselves that we use to make decisions, to act within the world. And we come to have structures of meaning in a large part through how we define things. And this is where I'm wanted to get to with the advice. So, what is advice? Generally. To me, it seems advice is giving definitions of a good way to move forward or giving a definition of a bad way to move forward. Now, that's very loose. But when someone gives you advice, they're trying to give you across a meaning. And the meaning is generally they want something good for you. Like people give you advice, it's to better you. But we want to know the advice which is going to actually better us and which has no use for us. We need to be able to personally differentiate between the two. If we can't do that, then we're kind of we're a little bit lost. And so I think the differentiating between, I guess, good advice would be that which yields wisdom, and terrible advice is that which yields ignorance or suffering. No, ignorance. The fruit of ignorance will be suffering, and the fruit of wisdom will be, I guess, heavenly realms. Let's just leave it at that because I'm not trying to get to that. But I want to get to the fact that certain action within the world is wise, and certain action within the world is unwise, is ignorant. And we need to come to know these ways of acting in the world. How? Through seeing examples. An example is just another word for definition in this case. We need to know what things mean. So, jumping again back to what I was saying about what I feel a large part of religion is it's trying to capture wisdom so that we can carry it through the ages. It's like having a metaphysical light kind of leading our, maybe metaphysical is not the right word here, but you kind of see what I mean. It's not a physical light. Yeah, symbolic light. Religion is, in a large part, the collating and has been the collating and the kind of editing and making sure that this is the good advice and we can get wisdom from this. We can trust this metaphysical light to lead us on our path. We can find wisdom here and lead us and allow it to lead us forward. But in order to know the difference between wisdom and ignorance, we need definitions. And I think that's what the Bible, the sutras of the Buddha, philosophical texts, all these things are in a sense extended definitions of good and evil. And it's up to us to study these definitions of wisdom, of compassion, of kindness, of acceptance, of tolerance, of all these values. We need to study what they actually mean in order to be able to act them out. And if we never have the definitions pinned down, then we can fail to act, we can fail to recognize the scenario in front of us and fail to recognize that there's a fork in the road, that if we had wisdom, we could take the wise path, but because we don't, it appears as though there is no option. That's the thing. I think wisdom allows us to see the infinite number of options in front of us, at least with a little bit more of a view. We're only going to ever have about this much, but maybe it could be like that much, if we're wise. Now, I wanted to actually get to a proverb. I said I was talking about a proverb, but we were just talking essentially about the definition of proverb, and we've spoken for about 12 minutes on religion and advice and definitions and kind of the culmination of all of that. So let's jump straight to an actual proverb, which is, I guess, it's religious in that sense. It's from Proverbs. Let's just find it quickly. How are you, by the way? I love you so much for being here. I am incredibly grateful that others are willing to learn alongside me. It is the most honored thing I could be doing. Thank you, my family. Now, I found the proverb, so let's jump into it. This is Proverbs 25, if you want to find this. That's 20 and then 5, not 25. The purpose of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. Now, I already want to say something I love about this. In our world, religion is, I've talked about this before, I'm pretty sure. Our religion right now is scientific and technological. The faith we have in existence is no longer in religious texts to a large extent. Definitely not to the extent it was. It's a scientific doctrine to a large extent now. And a lot of people will say this negatively. I just see it as, I guess, the swing of the pendulum. We don't have to see it as negative, okay? We can just see it as where it is right now. But we also need to recognize, okay, if we're going that direction, what are the most vital things that we could possibly be losing here? And I feel like those vital things we're losing are these structures of meaning that feed us wisdom, that provide us that inner light, that insight. And I find it it's much less obvious to find wisdom and insight through chemistry, or physics. You can do it. Physics, definitely. Quantum physics. You can get some insights in that. But it's kind of like you need that alongside philosophy or something, or we can't leave behind the great light of wisdom for just the intellect, because without the light of wisdom, intellect is in the dark. So jumping back to this, I didn't explain fully what I was saying. So we can't leave behind religion, and yet religion is becoming and has been degrading in the sense that people don't have a positive view of religion. They view it negatively for the fruits that the people who have misused the religion have borne. For example, the big thing I always have associated with hearing with Christian or fucking Catholic, I don't even know what it is, but like the fucking pedophilia shit. that is something that people societally have in their mind and they can't remove from that. And so that blocks them from going any deeper into that religion. It's a big part of what blocks people delving into religion. We cut off. And we don't have much space, obviously, so I'm going to get to the freaking point. I'm pretty sure I just said that the society has a lot of problems with religion right now that block them from looking any deeper into it. But what I love specifically about this proverb from the Christian religion is that the proverb itself, the purpose of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. Not in that is any connotations of anything particularly religious in my view of it, which means you could say that to anyone. You could give that as advice to anyone. And it doesn't matter what religion they are. It doesn't matter if they hate religion. They can source wisdom from it. That's the important part. These things are providing us with definitions and action towards wisdom. So let's just quickly break this one down before the computer fucking runs out, because let's get into it, motherfucker. The purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. We each have a purpose, a deep purpose, which is the reason we are conscious. We're conscious to fulfill a purpose, but that purpose is deep within our heart. If we imagine our being, our mind, our heart as something with an incredibly deep center, like a lake that has depths that go into darkness. We can't see visible light anymore. At the bottom of that is our purpose. And in order to draw that out, we can't rely on our intellect, which is always kind of putting things together on the surface realm, the conscious realm. We need to be able to access something which is wisdom. Insight, the word used here. One who has insight draws them out. The ability to see inwardly. I feel like it's just another word for wisdom. It's synonymous with wisdom in this situation. Because wisdom is that knowledge which isn't intellectual, but is hand in hand with compassion. That it's something you feel beyond that you intellectually know, and that you can act on in that way. But only I feel if... Well, not only I feel, I don't know absolutely. We're just kind of throwing things together. But it seems to me that things like this, definitions of what wisdom is and what its purpose are, and the fact that we can find our deepest purpose within, if we have that wisdom, if we have that insight, then that gives us direction on how to act. It gives us positive action in that we need to seek wisdom. We need to seek the definition of wisdom. Seek the definition of compassion so that we can know how to act within the world. So much of this is just... It's like encoded language. There's definitions we need to get across that are uniquely important, supremely important. They are tantamount to our existence. We see that meaning in the world, and we need a way to put it into language and to talk to each other about it. Otherwise, we are... I don't know, maybe if you don't have words to talk about something, it becomes a lot harder to think about. We only have the ability to think about these things, really, because we have the language to point to them. All this language, just different signs that point to the ultimate reality. How are we going? Because I'm going to tape these two videos together and get you a nice little whatever the fuck this is. This has been a bit of a talk on, I guess, definitions of, well, phenomena arises. We need an ability to differentiate between phenomena, at least while we're in the mortal existence. And that differentiation seems to arise out of defining. Differentiation and definition seem very similar as well, even just... in the literal sound of the word. So definition, reality arises through our perception, which is kind of encoded in our definition of things, in the meaning that the meaning structure we kind of hold within ourselves. is the cage through which our perception forms. And we could, I guess, broaden our cage or expand our ability to see by increasing the definitions, by having these definitions even, by attempting to know what it means to seek wisdom. And simultaneously attempting to seek definition of evil so that one may know how not to act is equally important, I feel. There's wisdom in both of these things. And wisdom and compassion and the intellect, all of these things need to work hand in hand. They all need each other. That's why they're all here. But we can't allow intellect to become the charioteer. Wisdom must be the charioteer of intellect. That is the divine relationship. And heck, that's probably just a definition I've heard. So, thank you. Mr. Robot is completed his job today. Raise God loves you. We'll talk again soon. Let me know if this was interesting at all. If not, I'll fuck off.